Good evening. This is CTV News for Wednesday, January 13th. I'm Rochelle Metzger.
And I'm Sonia Shrivastava. Thank you for being with us tonight. It is opening day for the 2016 General Assembly session, where the topic of the day seems to be Governor Larry Hogan's proposed tax cuts. Our Patricia Vallone is in Annapolis with more on the story.
Now that's right. Those proposed tax cuts were a hot topic today as the first day of the legislative session kicked off. Now, Governor Hogan's plan includes increasing the personal exemption for seniors from $1,000 to $5,000 and reductions in state fees and services. He called for bipartisanship to get his plan passed.
I don't care what side of the aisle the ideas come from. We want to come together with common sense solutions to solve some of the problems that face our state. We're very open-minded, willing to listen to the ideas that you have, that you bring to the debate.
I was pleased to see that he was focusing in on the families that are in need help, focusing on economic growth. I think the Maryland General Assembly needs to take a look at that, the balancing of how we give tax relief versus making sure that our budget doesn't return to a difficult balanced position as it has in the past.
We should give it a thorough looking over. The idea of trying to attract more manufacturing to the state makes sense. I think some of the things go beyond the pale. I mean, having people who make $60,000 not have to pay income tax for 10 years, while other employees and working people around the state have to pay it, seems a little bizarre to me.
A series of health proposals are also expected during this legislative session, including bills dealing with heroin addiction, terminally ill patients, and paid sick leave. Now, meantime, the Maryland Democratic Party has released a statement saying that many of the governor's proposals have already been introduced by Democrats and that the governor has failed to release a plan on how to pay for his ideas. From Annapolis, I'm Patricia Vallone, CTV News.
Before the General Assembly got underway, an advocacy group held a press conference to talk about stricter requirements for convicted drunk drivers. It's called Noah's Law, and it's named after Montgomery County Police Officer Noah Leota, who was struck and killed by a drunk driver last month. Members of Mothers Against Drunk Driving and lawmakers say the proposed measure would mandate that individuals with DUI records have interlocks on their cars for a minimum of 6 months. Captain Tom Didone says passing Noah's Law is vital for Maryland.
Having strong interlock laws for first-time offenders that progressively increase when they continue to be drunk driving offenders is what we need. Strong laws will help protect our police officers and help us protect our citizens.
According to Didone, 15 Montgomery police cruisers were struck by drunk drivers last year and 7 in 2014. Well, Maryland Democrats are demanding that the governor release educational funds for the current fiscal year. The call comes just as lawmakers begin the 2016 legislative session.
Mandate is funding public education. Calvert County, one of the wealthiest counties in the state. I was with the teachers last night, and they were teaching, but her sister had to give them school supplies for her classroom, laying off English teachers. That shouldn't be happening in the state of Maryland, and it wouldn't have happened if we'd fully funded that $68 million last year that the governor cut. We mandated that it's not going to happen again, and we're not going to cut that mandate at all.
Last year was done with the budget committees that set aside the money, and the governor had the ability to release it or not. He decided not to release the money. But at the same time, we passed legislation that mandated that the governor had to fully fund education, meaning not only Thornton, but the geographic cost of index. And that bill became law, so the governor has to bring in the full funding of K through 12 education.
Prince George's County can't make up $20 million, not unless the state wants to send me back some of the tax dollars we sent them. So we're asking the governor to release that. There's no reason why it can't be released. Our school system needs it. That was a huge hit for us last year. So that we don't accept the fact that it can't be done.
Hogan says his top priority is and always has been education funding. The GOP governor defends his administration and says it provided record money for Maryland schools last year.
No governor in the history of the state has ever spent as much on education as I have. I was the first governor in history to ever fully fund GCI in his first year. This year, I'll be the first governor in history to ever fully fund GCI in his second year. We've added $250 million in operating expenses to our schools. We're adding over $600 million in new funding for school construction. So there's no disagreement whatsoever.
The Geographical Cost of Education Index provides additional funding to counties where delivering instruction is more expensive.
Meantime, a Temple Hills homeowner shoots a suspect who allegedly tried to break into his home. The incident happened this morning in the 3900 block of Brinkley Road. Our Latifah Majid is at police headquarters with more.
Well, as of right now, the homeowner nor the suspect has been charged, and the suspect is actually in the hospital facing non-life-threatening injuries. Now, this is what we know as of right now. According to police, around 2 o'clock this morning, an intruder tried to break into this home, and it was actually the family's dog that alerted the homeowners about the man that was trying to get inside.
The dog began barking, so they went to their front door. They could tell that somebody had forced their way through their storm door, which they knew had been locked, had been pried open. They could hear that person forcing their way into their actual wooden front door. One homeowner went and got a phone and called 911. The other homeowner got a weapon and eventually ended up firing through the front door, injuring the suspect. When officers got on scene, they apprehended the suspect and took him to the hospital for treatment. Well, he had a very large stick with him, and he had used that to pry through the storm door, and he still had it in his hand when he was fired upon through the front door. At this point, we've been told by the homeowner that he advised the suspect numerous times to get away from his door loudly in a way that he could hear through the door.
Now, the Maryland law states that if someone feels afraid or threatened for their life, then they are able to protect and defend themselves. So as I said before, the homeowner has not been charged, and the police are currently working with the state's attorney to figure out what charges will be brought against the suspect. In Landover, I'm Latifah Majid, CTV News.
Now, we should tell you that the homeowner and his wife were the only ones in the house at the time of the incident. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Sonia Shrivastava.
And I'm Rochelle Metzger.